So we had a good chat, and everyone was kind enough to depart your knowledge of how everything unfolded. And we got a little committee together and got up an event we've called the Day of Gratitude. So we've had 6 of them, I think now, 5 or 6. So they've kind of been UK-based speakers or UK time speakers more than anything. We've had speakers and participants from all over the world, like a bit like yourselves, really. But but we've had some really great days. If it hadn't have been for you guys, we wouldn't have been able to kind of spread the word and spread the experience. And Day of Gratitude is just one of the events that have been going on in the UK. We've had several. There's been a Manchester convention, there's been a Birmingham convention, there's been an Irish one, a Scottish one. It's been really great, and I've got a lot from it. I'm grown massively through service, and we've had some really amazing shares and speakers. So it's been a real privilege to be part of.
Thank you for sharing that. If anybody is looking for any of their flyers, we post them on amadaudio.com, msbrecording.com. I just put it in the chat. Keep in mind, they are 8 hours ahead of Pacific Standard Time, 6 hours ahead of Eastern Time, and whatever's in the middle, you all have to figure it out. So if you're up early rising, you can attend some of their stuff. That's where you can find their flyers. That's where we post them all the time. And what is the one coming up? You have one coming up, don't you?
We were hoping to do one next weekend, the 18th. There should be one in the pipeline. That's not confirmed yet. So the committees, we've had lots of things going on. And then I know the next definite one that we're hosting is on the 1st of August. So if it's not next weekend coming, there's definitely one on the 1st of August. So
go look to the website, look at events, and just start scrolling. You'll find the UK flyers among some other flyers if you're looking for events to do and you're bored. Most of them are international Zoom events that are on there, and there's a lot of AA on there too that has Al-Anon participation. So I'm gonna turn it over to Claire to do what Claire does in England. And I think I co-hosted most of your speakers. You know how to unmute them, so I know you do. So I'm going to turn it over to you for the next 3 hours. How's that? I'll pop in here and there.
Brilliant. Thanks, Yvonne. So thanks for having us all. I've got a few minutes to fill before Helen kindly shares for us on step 11. So that would be great. Really annoyingly, I'm not quite sure what I've done with my book. I was going to read something, but it's all gone out the window. Never mind. It's how these things work sometimes, I guess. But in England, we're not necessarily as smooth running as Yvonne. I think she runs a really tight ship, but we just go with the flow and see what comes out.
Not always that smooth. Not when Billy says we're about to crash, Yvonne. I'm like, what? You can't do that.
We've had some really, like I said, really great speakers, and I think one of the really interesting things that has come out from these Zoom meetings is we had a district day last weekend, I think it was, or maybe it was the weekend before. I'm losing track of time completely. And we had a really good discussion about what the future of Zoom is for Al-Anon and how we might utilise that. And I don't know if you guys have been thinking about things in the same way, but we're definitely on the page for let's move forward with this. Let's allow people have access. There's lots of people in the UK and I'm sure all around the world who have problems getting to meetings and have problems with access to getting in a car or physically getting to the meeting late at night, childcare issues, health problems when they can't translate. I mean, I know even some of the speakers that we've had on wouldn't have been able to join us and be with us and experience what we've experienced had it not been for this platform. So, I think the future of Al-Anon is, and our connection with one another is really going to change over the next few months, few years. I don't know what, but We've had some really good like district day, area day. People have been able to connect and get to those meetings, that business meetings, and have really good discussions that might have been prohibited for those people before. So, it's future's bright. Not quite orange; it's a triangle, I think. So. Anyway, I think I'm waffling. Helen, are you up? Are you able to join 2 minutes early if Yvonne, you're happy for me to do that and allow her to start a little bit early? Yeah. Okay. So let's go with ask Helen to unmute, and then I shall leave it in your capable hands, Helen.
Thanks very much, Claire. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Yes, we can hear you. Could you open with a serenity prayer?
Can you hear? You can. I've been having. Pardon me? No, everybody's.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Frozen now.
Can you hear me, Helen?
Can you hear me okay, Claire?
Yes.
I can hear you, Yvonne. Yeah? Okay. Hi, I'm Helen. My home group is Buckingham, England, and I'm a very grateful member of Al-Anon. Thank you very much for the privilege, Claire. I'll get you back. I've got a little bookmark that came into view this morning, funnily enough, and I'd just like to read that. Learning to say yes. Any good that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any fellow creature, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. I can do something without being obliged to do everything. And that comes from When I Get Busy, I Get Better, page 32. So that just sort of kicked me in the right way this morning in preparation. The topic I've been given is step 11, but I've been told to tell you a little bit about me. My mother is my alcoholic. She has been sober now 30 years in AA, and I came in 10 years after she found the fellowship. But I didn't come in because of Mum. I came in because of Dad. My dad was, crazy, just as crazy as me, but I didn't see it then. All my problems were because of him. He was very angry, very aggressive, and then the next day he'd be really generous and really kind and loving, and it would be that roller coaster that I often heard when I first came in to Al-Anon. Being an adult child, I was on a mission to find out what this life was about. But the trouble was I didn't have a handbook. I didn't have a way. I just didn't know how to do life. I bumbled a way through, and similar to what other people have shared today, I took my direction from other people, and I just bumbled along. And that was when I found Al-Anon. My mother had told me about Al-Anon 2 or 3 times in her time in AA at that time, but I had decided against it until I was signed off work for 3 months. I was put on antidepressants. I was very depressed and very physically ill, and decided to take a trip across the Atlantic, to sail across the Atlantic on a boat with 3 other people that I didn't know, having never sailed before. That'd be a good idea, Helen. Off we go. And I truly believed that I was going to die. I truly believed that was it. What a way to go. No one would know the pain I was in. but let's crack on. We can do this. 6 weeks of sheer hell. Later, I found a God of my understanding, but I didn't know at the time. Fast forward a couple of months later, I ended up in Al-Anon. And then life started to begin to make sense. I was very lucky. As soon as I came into Al-Anon, into that room, I knew I was here to stay. I got a sponsor very early on and loved what the people had shared, or Italy had shared about sponsorship. My experience was a tad different. My sponsor told me that she was going to sponsor me. And actually, that's exactly what I needed at that particular time. And I know that now. I don't do that way in the way I sponsor now. I humbly wait to be asked. But that's exactly how I needed to be. At that point in time, I know it was the right thing, and I know it was my higher power's will. And we were able to crack on, as I would say, with the steps. She wasn't a particularly religious person, and I didn't have a God of my understanding at all when I came into Al-Anon. I'd been to church a couple of times as a girl guide, sing a few hymns at Remembrance Day, but there was no God of my understanding. There was no spiritual life at all. So my sponsor pretty much became my first higher power, and we all know how that turns out. And she suggested after a few problems that actually perhaps the group would be a good idea to be my first higher power. And that's how I started on that sort of spiritual side of things. Was I had to get me out of the equation. That was my problem. I knew there was something wrong with me when I first came into Al-Anon. I knew I was crazy. I knew there was something wrong with me, but I did not know what it was. And in those first meetings, I found out that it was alcoholism, that was my issue, the effects of someone else's drinking, and the attitudes and effects of my father as well as my mother. So for me, looking back, step 3 was the hardest step for me early on. And for me, step 3 and step 11 are the pillars that hold up the bridge of normal living, the rest of the 12 steps. And step 3 for me was all about self-will, whereas step 11 for me is all about God's will. And I can still wrestle with that. Interestingly, when I tried to get on this afternoon to this, I looked at my phone and saw the Zoom numbers, diddly-dee, tick-tick-tick, put it in, on I go, no sound. Oh, okay. And I've been having problems with the audio all week. I can't hear you, you can't hear me. Okay. Do a little things, flick a few switches, da-da-da-da. No, nothing. And interestingly now, on this page, I had the American Sign Language lady on. Oh, not seen her before. Okay. Still didn't get the connection. This was the answer to my question then. Higher power doesn't want me to share this afternoon. There we go. Problems finished. Thank you, higher power. He always answers me. I know he always answers me. My husband came in and went, why are you looking at the American Sign Language deaf page? No, I had no idea. No idea. Let's try and put the right numbers in, shall we? Oh, okay. Damn it. So we're okay. We're back on. So even today, it, higher power keeps working. And then interestingly, it was asking for help again. Something I had major problems with early on was asking for help, and still can. Picking up that phone, and I thought, right, text my sponsor. I need some prayer. My head now is starting to go woo woo woo. Fear is coming in, and I texted my sponsor, and as I am texting her, and then was saying, fear is raising its ugly head. Things are getting out of hand. I'm not sure if I want to do this. The little emojis that come up, the little emoji with the devil horns came up just as I was sending the text. And I went, okay, thank you, higher power again. That's the enemy for me. Okay, come back in. God said to do this, so come on, get a grip, pray. So went out, did my prayer things, and come back. And what I normally do, if I've got a topic, then I read and write and write and lists and write and more words and lots of writing. So I will read some of what I've written, because I'm starting to waffle. So step 3 was that hard step for me. Made a decision to release my will. I was uber independent when I first came into Al-Anon. It was my way or the highway. I made all the decisions in my life, so I thought, my plan was this. I was, straightforward. That's the way. I hit Al-Anon, and the word God comes up. Interesting. I'd never really discussed God with anybody, not really in my family. My nan used to always say that there was a guardian angel. You have a guardian angel. So that was, again, one of my first sort of higher powers was actually I could envisage this, a guardian angel. Okay, I can go with that. And I think it was that, on reading about step 12 in my Al-Anon literature, it's that willingness. I had the willingness to do something different. I had the willingness to change. I had the willingness to give it a go. And as my sponsor said, if it can work for me, it can work for you, Helen. Give it a go. Try. What's the worst that can happen? I was already living the worst that could happen. So it was actually, let's give it a go. So I started to pray. How do you pray? Big question in all our literature. How do you pray? Actually, in my experience, it's not how I pray. It's that I pray. I actually give it a go. So sometimes my prayers are help, like being on the convention and not being able to hear anything, or actually it goes into more depth. Again, we've heard over the last few hours about a God box, writing things down and putting them in a little God box and leaving it there, letting things go. I love what Yvonne said earlier about letting go, about holding. I'd also seen the holding the hand and placing something in there and letting it go, and that resonated with me. I could do that. But sometimes I would get really frustrated, and actually my letting go was I would throw it. I would literally, I'll let it go and I'll launch it instead of just gently letting go. I came into Al-Anon, as I often share, full on and flat out, and that's how I lived. And now I'm a lot calmer, and I'm beginning to slow down. And for me, it's slowing down. It's like slowing down this. It's slowing down my head, slowing down my thoughts. There was a lovely share last weekend at the Scottish Convention that says, my mind is like a garden. Oh, I've written this down somewhere. Hang on. I thought I'd remember it. Wrong. I'll come back to that. My mind is like a garden, and my thoughts are like the seeds. I can grow flowers or I can grow weeds. And for me, that just, again, it was just a little reminder of just slowing down, and actually what I put into my head is really important. And it said about it, on step 11, I'm going to have to go back because otherwise I'm just going to get out of sync here. Our mind is what we feed it. And step 11 is about prayer and meditation. I think early on, all I did was pray. All I did was talk to God and tell him what I wanted. And by the way, could you just, and if you're free, if you're not curing famine or, earthquakes, if you could just, mention the fact that I would need X, Y, and Z. But it's prayer and meditation. It's about talking and listening, inspiration. And now I can still go with those thoughts. I can still go with that fear. But actually, my life's a lot easier if I slow down, keep self-control, and keep that focus. Keep the focus on where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing at this moment in time. So step 3 for me was that made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the power greater than I. And I had to realise that actually, as an AA member said very early on, there's only 2 things you need to know about higher power. 1, there is one. 2, you ain't it. And for me, I was my higher power. I was the one that ran my life. And that's always stuck with me, because if I let myself run, I'll be soon tripping up. I'm soon tripping up myself. So meditation for me was something that is something I do in nature. Something for me, meditation is, I do a lot of walking. I have a dog and I do a lot of walking. And for me, God, my higher power is in nature. And when I walk, I talk. So I'm sharing my day, I'm sharing my plans, I'm sharing my thoughts with God as I'm walking through nature. And for me, and it's that simple. It's that simple. And he will talk to me, he will talk back to me through people. And as shared on the sponsorship session we just had, time and time and time again, something that I'm going through, my sponsor is also going through or has just gone through, and then she can help me, or it will come up as a topic at the next meeting, or it will be a discussion at a district day or an area assembly. So it's almost there's something in the universe, and my God will then just open my eyes and see the solution. For me, God always has the solution. I just have to allow time. I have to give time to him, rather than me that full on flat out and running like a lunatic, headlong. So I'm just everywhere at the minute. Slowing down. So prayer is talking to God. Someone mentioned about being on the end of a phone. it's a two-way conversation for me and my God is a two-way conversation. And I was taught, and I asked my sponsor about meditation, and she said, oh, we can all meditate. Everybody can meditate. It's really quite easy. We do it all the time. They were, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? She said, well, just seek out the definition of meditation and come back to me. And there's one book that isn't conference approved literature, but don't panic, don't turn me off. It's called a dictionary. And for me, it has been alongside the most powerful book that I've used in the program. Because I think I know what these words mean, but actually what I do now, and I do with my sponsees, is we look up the words. Actually, what does it mean? And meditation, I looked up meditation, and the definition in my dictionary says to fix the attention on one matter, to focus one's attention on one issue. And that's worry, isn't it? We all do that. I can do that, or I can worry all the time. And it's, a lovely little phrase that I heard about worry is like a rocking chair. It gives me something to do, but it gets me absolutely nowhere. So once I realised that actually I can meditate, I can just change the word from worry to meditate. I can meditate on one issue. I used to use the slogans very early on. Slogans to me were so simple. And I was such a complicated person. But the slogans for me are just, and they pop into my head. Easy does it, Helen. First things first. How important is focus then on that phrase? And it stops my mind whirring round. For me, step 11 is the prayer and meditation. They go together. It's not one or the other. They go together. I'm going to try and get back on track. I read my daily readers, and just give God my day, give God my plans. That often changes, funnily enough. And I just able just to hand my day over. It's God's will that I'm requesting. It's God's will now that directs my life. I can still go into my will. I can still go on, well, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do the other. And I think lockdown has proved to a lot of us, well, yeah, they're your plans, honey, but yeah, God's got different plans right now. So for me, God's will, I don't know all the answers. It's God knows. God has all the solutions, and God has a plan. And God has a plan for my life. And God has a plan for my loved ones. But they also have a higher power. Again, very early on, I thought, wait, I've got a higher power, and I can ask him to change other people. I can ask him to change my dad. But then I quickly realised that actually, no, I've got a higher power, but my dad's also got a higher power. And it's up to him. And again, the serenity prayer for me is my saving grace. I have it in every room. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, people, places and things. Courage to change the things I can. Me. That's it. Number one, me. And wisdom to know the difference. And I love the serenity prayer because it's wisdom. For me, it's not the wisdom. I was always looking for the right answer, the correct course of action, the right way to go. But actually, for me, in Al-Anon, there is lots of wisdom. There is various wisdom. Well, I could do that, but actually I could also do that too. Or I could try the middle way. Okay. I was always looking for the right solution, that black and white thinking. But actually, I can let that go now. There isn't a right or wrong in Al-Anon. It's God's way. It's God's way. And for me, the meditation, prayer and meditation is practice, just practice. And as we practice, it's a skill. Meditation is a skill. For me, I need to practice it on a regular basis, and I get better at it. And God grew in my life, and the more faith then I had, the more trust I could have, the higher in God, the more things that would happen. Yeah. I think I'm going to leave it there, Claire, because I'm waffling like a good one here. There's a little phrase in Past Recovery. I'll just finish on page 117, the last little paragraph. My prayer is that everyone will find a higher power, and will find a higher power's love, strength, wisdom, and understanding. I pray that everyone finds unconditional love on the way to loving themselves, and may all know that we are special and that we are children of God. Thanks.
Thanks, Helen. And thanks so much for agreeing to share with us today. As always, I love listening to you. You've been part of my journey, so thank you personally for being there. Really, really like what you had to say. There was lots of things that popped out for me. Slightly on the back foot now because it's 20 to 8 and my next speaker's not up for a bit. So
help.
Yeah. So